All right. I haven't done this in 4 months. This is gonna be a little weird for me. Once again, it feels weird looking at myself. I'll avoid eye contact. But for the most part, this is my video review for Thor Ragnarok 2017, November 2017. I don't remember what day, but I know it was November 2017. It's the day the movie came out. I know this video's like super late. It was like 4 months too late because we saw the movie. Was it June? We saw the movie in June. So I had to rewatch the movie again. Not recently. I've seen the movie so many times, but my mom has only seen this movie twice because we watched it the first time back in June, and then we were supposed to review because in my chronological MCU timeline, I know Marvel has the official one, and then Disney Plus has one that I consider to be wrong, and it like kind of frustrates me just how wrong it is because this is not the point. But so in my MCU timeline, Thor Ragnarok is the last movie before Infinity War. So I was talking to my mom, and I was like, all right, after Ragnarok, we need to review every single movie. We need to review every single movie leading up to Infinity War, so you can like fully just so it really hits you. And so we were kind of doing that, and we've gone through 5 movies in the last 4 months because it's a lot. I mean, for it's a lot. She's also really busy too, So so then like 2 months passed by, and then I was like, all right, I need to do this video. So I was like, I need to ask you all these questions, and then she forgot. So I was like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna rewatch the movie again, and then I'm gonna take notes on what you said or whatever. And so we did that. And I procrastinated a lot because I've been reading comics. A lot of old comics, and they're expensive too. Lately, though, I've also still been reading my old comics. But I've been doing something else. I'll get to that maybe later or soon. But, so I've had her notes for like months. And then I just right now made my own notes because I've seen the movie so many times I don't even need to watch these movies. I can just think about them, and that'd be fine. But that's kind of lame, even though I just did that. Anyways, here's my Thor review with spoilers for the movie, any of the previous movies, future movies, maybe some comics. I don't know much about the Thor comics other than the 2014 run. That was awesome, though. Speaking of, thought I'd have this here with me. Put it on my desk. Anyways, let's get through this. So, for a while, I've kind of thought I've liked the Thor character in the movies. I thought he was a really cool, not interesting in terms of personality, kind of a bit interesting. But one thing that I never really liked about the first 2 Thor movies was that you never really saw much of Asgard. I always kind of wanted to see more of Asgard and how it worked as a realm, I really wanted to see all of the other, what made Asgard so special, and with Thor, there's Norse mythology. I remember how old was I? 14. I was like 14 or 15. They announced the new Phase 3 movies, so I did some research on Norse mythology, and it was pretty interesting, and I was like, I can't wait to see more of this Norse mythology woven into the Marvel Universe. It wasn't, which kind of sucked. That was a bummer. So that's honestly for me, that was a bummer for me because I thought that would have been really cool and really interesting to see. I know they added like very minor elements of Norse mythology and they changed a few things, which is fine, But I would have really liked to have seen more of Asgard and more of Asgard civilization and like the day-to-day. I really care about like the small, minor, insignificant details that no one seems to care about. But that's just me. So I always kind of thought Thor was kind of a dull character because he's God. Like how do you humanize a god? And I feel like this movie did a really good job on making his character a lot more interesting. Because in the other movies, I don't know, the second one is obviously my least favorite. I don't like the second one. The first one, after a few times, after going back, I was like, that's pretty good. The first one's actually, once again, not that great, but it's still pretty good for a Thor movie. And the second one, I just don't really like it. I still watch it though, just because I love Marvel. The second one's not that great though, but the third ones are like probably the best one of the three. Taika Waititi directed this third movie, Ragnarok. Now, I've seen some of his movies, and I really like them. Did I know who Taika Waititi was before the movie? Absolutely not. I didn't know anything about the guy before before Ragnarok. I've heard some of his movies, like What We Do in the Shadows, I think was one that I heard of, and that's it. That one's a really good movie though. So I didn't know anything about the director beforehand because he was an indie filmmaker, and then I was like, oh, this movie is really great. It's really colorful, which is the color palette of the movie took so much inspiration from the Jack Kirby comics, and the Jack Kirby comics are so beautiful. They're just so colorful. There's so much colors, and there's just so much going on. And I thought, like when when Loki is in the room with the Grandmaster, and there's all those people dressed up in those weird costumes. They're dressed up as Celestials, and the colors just feel like it's straight out of a Jack Kirby comic, and then just like thrown right into the movie. So I thought that was so cool. The color palette was just amazing in this movie, because all the other Thor movies have been like dark and brooding, like the Dark World, the second one, which like, okay, like I can understand why they might be a bit dark, but like they're in space, Spaces are probably one of the most colorful things. I feel like if you go deep enough within the Marvel universe, it's one of the most colorful things known in that universe. And like Taika Waititi just like totally disregarded the color palettes of the other movies, and it's like, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and he just threw in so much color. He just threw up colors all over this movie, and it was awesome. It was so cool. Oh man, the Grandmaster was just so. I saw a post a while back where it's like they're not sure if Jeff Goldblum was acting as a Grandmaster or if he was just being Jeff Goldblum. And not that was hilarious. And I was like, yeah, I wonder that too, But Taika Waititi, I've seen some of his films. He's an amazing director. I really love his movies. Like the humor he uses is really dry humor. Like What We Do in the Shadows is about 3 vampires living in a room together, and it's just hilarious. It's so funny, and the show kind of takes that similar premise and it continues on. Sorry, and it's so funny, and he's I don't know what number he is, but he's IG in The Mandalorian, and his character. I feel like whatever Taika Waititi does, he has to put himself in his work, which is actually fine. I'm fine with that. whenever I see him on screen, it's like, oh, this is gonna be funny, and he usually is. He plays who does he play? He plays Korg, the rock guy. He's so funny, and I saw one of my favorite films that isn't comic book related in any way whatsoever is Jojo Rabbit. And it's one of my favorite films. And it's one of the films I think about the most. Just thinking about how Taika Waititi can take a very serious premise and add a little humor to it, but still treat it with the respect it deserves. And I feel like he does that very well with Jojo Rabbit. And I feel like he also does that very well with Thor Ragnarok in terms of Odin kind of changing the history of Asgard. And he's, I feel like he brings that, he calls that to attention very well in this movie. But yeah, Taika Waititi is a great director. I highly recommend people checking out his other films. My favorite one, like I said, one of my favorite films that isn't comic book related, which is saying something because I love comic book films, is Jojo Rabbit. I also really like Princess Bride, but that's not related. I also like Back to the Future, but also not related. I also like, which other movie do I like? I like 500 Days of Summer too. And oh man, I can't. Oh, that's these movies aren't even relevant in any way whatsoever. But anyways, moving on with the movie review. Um, so I know I said I don't really like Thor all that much. Thought he was cool and not interesting, but I thought he was cool. And like I've seen growing up, I didn't really read a lot of comics, which is baffling to some people because everyone's like, I thought you would have read comics growing up. Like I thought too, but now I read like a ton of comics, so I'm making up for lost time. And believe me, I am making up so much lost time, and it's expensive. But I'm not buying comics right now. But when I do, it'll be expensive, and that's a problem for me. But anyways, so I've always seen the photos of like Thor with his hammer and like long, luscious hair, and like on some occasions his helmet with the wings. And I thought it was cool. Then when the first movie you see the winged helmet for like a bit, but I read that it was really uncomfortable to wear. But in this movie, Stan Lee cuts his hair, and I was like, oh no, and then his Asgardian armor is like a mess, and I'm like, oh no, and then Hela breaks Mjolnir, and I'm like, oh no, like no, because keep in mind this movie came out 2017, and I saw it the weekend it came out. So when Hela broke Mjolnir, I was like, oh, now we'll never know if Steve Rogers is worthy of lifting it or not. Like we'll never see it. Like I know he's worthy, but we'll never see it. This is still 2017. We'll never see it happen because it's in pieces. And I'm like, oh, I was just so mad. I was just so bummed out. But yeah, so then his old look just got completely ruined, and I was like, man, that sucks. But they gave him the helmet with the sort of wings when he's in the Contest of Champions, which I thought was a nice callback to the comics and the game. So I thought that was cool. Although in the comic storyline, I think it's a lot more interesting than what they did in the movie, but it's still kind of a similar premise. It's so cool. I think, from what I've understood, I know a lot about comics, but I don't know everything. But if what I think I know is correct, it's awesome. But yeah. So I didn't initially like the new look, but when I saw the new look, I was like, oh, okay, like he looks interesting. I want to see where this goes. And sure enough, it grew on me. And then in Infinity War, he has the Stormbreaker, which I'm maybe planning to get, but that's like a lot of money and pretty broke. But yeah, so the new look started to grow on me, so I thought that was neat. I liked it. It wasn't all that bad. The swords was nice, and the shield was I felt like Thor himself was paying homage to Captain America, so I thought that was cool. I don't. Oh my god, what happened to you? You're tarnished. Anyways, I remember in the trailers. When did the trailer come out? July. I believe the trailer came out July 2017. Yeah, for Comic-Con. When it came out for Comic-Con, I saw like a brief image, that shot of Hulk jumping towards Surtur, and I swear to God, I thought there was going to be a fight between Hulk and Surtur, and I was like, all right, Hulk is infamously known for being the strongest there is. Now imagine him fighting a demon. So I thought that would have been really cool, and I thought they were actually going to hash it out, and I thought somehow, some way, Hulk would have won, but no, he did not win, unfortunately. Well, we didn't even get to see them fight. He just punched them a little bit. I really wanted to see them fight. That didn't happen. Anyways, I also like the nice callbacks in the movie when Thor told Hulk someone's getting real low. When Thor refers to himself as Point Break to the first Avengers movie. So I thought that was awesome. There are also a few more callbacks, but I can't. Oh, when Hulk smashes Thor like Loki. I thought that was hilarious. Oh, there's just so many. It was 2017. That was already 5 years difference. It's 5 years. It's crazy. But yeah, I thought the callbacks were. I love callbacks, references. Like, oh, remember that one time, that obscure thing that happened like 7 years ago? And I'm like, yeah, I love it. I don't know. I just think it's cool. I also thought I haven't read the Planet Hulk comics, but I saw the movie, which isn't the exact same thing as the comics. Like there's like an animated Planet Hulk movie. I thought it was really cool how they took elements of the Planet Hulk comic and movie, and inserted into this movie. So I thought that was really interesting and nice how they've given Hulk kind of like a character arc throughout these movies. I know a lot of people don't like the Hulk having a brain or being intelligent, and they want him to be a monster. But I don't know. I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense. Just kind of to see him grow, to befriend the monster. Come in terms with the monster. Like, obviously, like he's lived with the monster for so long. I'll probably get into the character arc with my Endgame film review, but yeah. Planet Hulk, Smart Hulk. Right. Okay. So I have these three different things, but I wrote the Smart Hulk, so I just kind of talked about that. I also wrote What If, because I love the What If comics, because I feel like I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I love the What If comics because I love thinking about the multiverse and other things like that. And I love asking myself, what if? Because I feel like I want to become a writer, right? And I feel like as a writer, pretty much how you start writing is you ask yourself a what if question and you answer it. And that's pretty much how you write a story, So like, I don't know, I'm rereading Ready Player One. So Ernest Cline, the author, let's say he asks himself, what if people lived in a virtual reality world? And it's like, what would it be like? And then he answers it, like what are the circumstances that would have to happen in order for people to live in the virtual reality? And then he answers it, and he's like, he just asks himself more what if questions to kind of expand the premise and then write the story and then just kind of refine it, So I thought that's why I like what if questions, because I feel like that's pretty much all you have to do to write a story. And for Thor Ragnarok, there are two what ifs that come to mind. Obviously, the first one being the 1977 What If issue number 2, which is what if the Hulk had the brain of Bruce Banner, which is kind of where the idea comes from, when like the Hulk gaining intelligence, although in the Ragnarok movie it's the Hulk's brain and not Banner's brain. They later get merged together in Endgame. But also in the new Disney Plus What If series, the new Disney Plus What If series, there's going to be one episode is like, what if Tony Stark went to Sakaar instead of, I believe, Hulk or Thor? Like Tony Stark ends up going to Sakaar. That's all I know for sure. So I can't wait to see that. One thing that I really don't like about this movie, and it's minuscule and it's really not that relevant at all. It should be. I think it's relevant, but to other people it's just kind of like, oh, it doesn't matter. The timeline difference. So the events of Age of Ultron take place in 2015. The events of Ragnarok take place immediately before immediately before Infinity War. But that's a 3-year difference, right? But when the Hulk turns back into Bruce Banner, and then Bruce Banner's freaking out and is like, what happened to Sokovia? And then Thor's like, oh, that was 2 years ago. That means the movie's in 2017. But the end credits means it happened immediately before Infinity War. And I know Infinity War doesn't take place in 2017 because Tony Stark says a line in Infinity War that the Battle of New York happened 6 years ago. So there's a whole time displacement. So what I'm thinking, this is just how I let myself sleep at night. The reason why there's a time difference is because when they go into the Rainbow Bridge and they come out, Thor comes out weeks after Loki does. Because Loki comes out, I would think, before him. And like during that time, he meets the Grandmaster and he like goes up his ranks, right? And then like a few seconds later, Thor falls out of the Rainbow Bridge. But for him, it's like weeks later after Loki. So I'm thinking it has either something to do with that, or by the end of the movie, It's like a year of them just traveling to Earth, but even then, like, why would it take a year for Thanos to find them? Which doesn't make any sense to me. But that's just how I kind of cope with it. Heimdall. I don't know if I've said this. I know I read it on somewhere on Instagram or something, where Heimdall is probably a better leader than Thor, which is true. I actually agree with that, because in all three of the movies, he kind of protects the civilians. Civilians? What are civilians? He protects the Asgardians like more than Thor does. And there's also another comment where like Heimdall feels like he can do whatever he wants and he won't be punished for it, because Heimdall has a move like, oh, what are they gonna do? Run Asgard without me? Not likely. So he just commits treason in every movie. And I think that's awesome. I think that's hilarious, because he does commit treason in every movie and he gets away with it, because I don't think Asgard can function without him, because he's everything. So I thought that was funny. I think that's all I really wrote. Obviously I was excited to see Hulk in Ragnarok. When I saw the trailer, I was like, whoa, the Hulk? No! And then they said, like, you're Incredible Hulk. So I thought that was cool, too. Only thing is, what I really, 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 really want to know is how he got there. That's it. That's all I really want to know. And also when the movie takes place. And how Loki contacted Thanos. Or how Thanos knew about the Infinity Stone. So just, minor things that shouldn't bother me, but they do, because I'm me, and that's just how it is. But, yeah, I think that's all I really wrote down for this card. Now I'm going to go into what my mom said about this movie. My mom has very interesting things to say about these movies, because she's never seen these movies. She's never read the comics. She literally doesn't know anything except for what I tell her. And she's, like, very spiritual. So she's very, like, into God. So when she's watching these movies about, like, Norse mythology, it's, like, not that she gets mad or anything, but it's like, what is going on? Okay. So, Ragnarok, from my mom's point of view. This is what my mom has said. So she found Odin and Thor's sister very impressive, just how, like, much they were able to conquer in the before 4 times. I think I wrote down here on my timeline. Yeah. 659 BC. So that's in the official Marvel canon. And then 639 BC, Odin banishes Hela. But anyways, she thought it was really impressive how they were able to kind of do all of that. And she thought Odin was responsible for bringing back Hela. And, like, he died and then he let her go. But I explained to her that wasn't the case. And she was also really upset that Thor's... Oh, my mom's out the window. She was also really upset that Thor's hammer broke. And she was like, oh, what is he going to do now? And then at the end, when Odin was telling Thor, like, oh, the power is inside of you, she was like, that's a good message to send out to people watching these movies, She was also really upset when he lost an eye. Of course, who wasn't? That's like depth perception. Crap that. I swear. Good point. But oh yeah, so he lost an eye. She was upset about that. And ever since Age of Ultron, we saw Age of Ultron, she's been like, where is the Hulk? Where is he? Where is he? And I'm like, oh, he's going to show up again. Don't worry about it. He's going to show up. He's going to show up. And then she's like, what movie is he going to show up in? And every time we're like, oh, I don't know. I forgot. That's what I tell her whenever I don't want to tell her something, right? But where's it? Oh, there it is. So that's... Age of Ultron was number 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So within those 7 movies, she kept asking me when the Hulk was going to come up, right? And she was like, oh... She would ask about, like, Black Panther or, like, Doctor Strange or whatever, And then, like, when we got to Spider-Man, she was like, is Hulk going to come out in this one? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, because there's only 2 more movies until Infinity War comes out. And I know he's in Infinity War. So, like, is it this one or is it in the Thor movie? And I'm like, I don't know what movie he comes out in. So I purposely didn't tell her because I wanted it to be a surprise. And sure enough, when Thor is in the Contest of Champions... I look at my mom. I'm looking at her just to see the reaction of her. And then the Hulk comes out and she's like, it's him. It's the Hulk. And I thought that was awesome. She was genuinely excited to see the Hulk. And I was genuinely excited because she was genuinely excited. So I thought that was awesome. Yeah, she was happy to see the Hulk, though, because she was worried about him. Which I thought was nice. Thor New Look. I don't remember if she liked it or she hated it. But that's what I wrote. She also talked about destiny because she's a big believer in Catholicism and God and believing that people have like their own destiny. So she thought it was interesting how Thor's mission has to do with Valkyrie, and then Valkyrie is connected to the Hulk, and then so Thor knew the Hulk, and then they could convince that Valkyrie to help Thor to save Asgard. So she thought that was kind of interesting. And yeah, she has a point. I'm not a big fan of religion, but yeah, we'll talk about it every now and then. And then since Bruce Banner had been the Hulk for 2 to 3 years, Bruce Banner was like, I don't know if I can turn back into Bruce Banner if I turn into the Hulk again. But sure enough, at the end of the movie, Bruce Banner turns to the Hulk. So by the end of the movie, my mom was asking me, will Bruce Banner be able to turn back? Or is he stuck as the Hulk forever? And I'm like, I don't know. So that should be interesting. I can't wait for her to watch the next 2 movies, which will probably be months from now. But, yeah, she thought it was... she also thought it was nice how Thor was able to save the Asgardians from Hela and Surtur. Odin kind of came off as evil to her, which, makes sense. He lied, changed history, which is something as lying. He conquered realms and whatnot. She viewed Heimdall as a key part of Thor's life, which I already pointed out he is, and of Asgard, and it was really unfortunate to see him die in Infinity War, just so quickly. I really wanted him to meet the Avengers. I felt like that would have been really interesting to see, She really doesn't like Loki at all, and I get it. Kind of don't like him either. But, yeah, I don't like him either. He's okay, I guess. I know he has like a redemption arc, but whatever. She doesn't know that Thanos... Well, she suspects it is. But at the end credits, obviously that... I know, and I assume you all know, that the ship that shows up at the end is Thanos' ship. She doesn't know that. And she suspects that it's Thanos because there's the Infinity Stone on Asgard. And it blew up. So... what she's thinking is that Thanos is going to kill all of Thor's people, and Thanos is going to go back to the ruins of Asgard to get the Space Stone, the Tesseract, which is totally wrong. I mean, Thanos kills half of his people, but it doesn't go back to Asgard, which is wrong. But I really cannot wait to see these next 3 films with her. I think I said this before. I really don't like that Spider-Man Far From Home was the ending to the Infinity Saga. I feel like Avengers Endgame was a perfect ending to Phase 3, and Spider-Man Far From Home could have been Phase 4, but that's just me, But, yeah, that's pretty much all that she has said. Oh, she obviously doesn't know that Captain America is worthy of lifting Mjolnir, and she doesn't know that Mjolnir comes back in Endgame, so that should be exciting to see. That's it for today. I will hopefully watch Ready Player One with my mom because of Halloween. What does Ready Player One have to do with Halloween? Absolutely nothing. But since we can't go trick-or-treating probably can. Just choose not to. It's probably better not to. And since I have a 5-year-old niece that I deliberately do not want to take out trick or treating, the next best thing is to create a scavenger hunt with a ton of clues. If you've seen Ready Player One, there are 3 keys involved. Have like 2 clues lead to 1 key, then 2 clues to the other key, and so forth. And the final prize being the golden egg with a ton of candy and erasers and stickers inside. And so I explained the premise to my mom, and she was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then I showed her the trailer to the movie, and she was like, "Oh, so there's a purpose to like the golden egg, you know?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course there's a purpose to the golden egg, you know?" So I asked her if she wanted to watch the movie to understand the premise better. She was like, "Yeah, sure. Let's watch it." And I'm rereading the book right now too, and I've caught like a few references in it. I highlight my references in the book. It's hardcover. It's awesome. I'll probably do a separate video on reviewing the movie. I'm like 10 chapters in. I'm waiting for the new book to come out. This is all irrelevant, but I just thought I'd let you know if you care. Probably not. That's fine. It was actually kind of fun doing it again. I haven't done this in a while. I bought Jojo Rabbit too. I really want my mom to watch that one. I feel like she'd really like. I highly encourage watching Jojo Rabbit. It's an amazing film. It's on HBO Max if you guys have it. Oh God, the movie's. I cried a little, teared up a little, but yeah, I'll watch Ready Player One. Probably make a video on it. Ask my mom some questions. I'm excited for the new book, and I can't wait to watch Infinity War with my mom, which should be soon. I don't know. Laters.